Epilogue 2, which is Chapter 47. Spin the bottle and dudes die! Hey guys, round 2! Are you ready? The answer without a W better be yes, 'cause it's gone without a G again anyway. I went to London in England. In case you didn't know, London was in England. Because, that's obvious. For New Year. And then some place called Manchester to see my auntie, as in an aunt with a Y at the end, not your aunt. And we ate Indian food, which was good but odd cause the Indians are from India, not America. No shit. Like the American Indians from Thanksgiving. Yes, there's a place called India, in case you missed it, because clearly you did. They have a very important and beautiful culture. They are nothing like Native Americans or American Indians, as you put it, at all. Not even close. Anyway, now I have seen British things. The British of my fic will be even more real. Not really. Stay tuned. Same bat time, same bat channel. So anyway, they're at Whammy House in the 90s at night. Go to bed, you stinking brats, or I will turn your arses into chicken tikka masala. It's a Britishy Indian food. It's red like blood. Maybe it is blood. The answer is no, it's not. But if we're in your story, and sadly we are, it probably really is blood. And serve it back to you on a plate made of the Queen's hats. Why would you do that? I don't think she'd appreciate you ruining her hats. Also, there's no apostrophe there for queens, so I guess there's more than one queen. Instead of, marrying her husband, she married another princess. And now the lesbian queens rule England. Could be a thing that happens eventually, who knows? Roared Roger, but they all ignored him, and he walked away grumbling about those pesky kids. Because it's not like he could actually do something being the adult and having other adults as staff. Let's play Truth or Dare, squiggled Mello, getting a bottle out of his pants. Was he using it for other things if it was in his pants? Where he kept it to pretend he had a big man thing. Yeah, apparently he is. When actually it was the smallest in Europe. You're a douche. And this time we spelled Europe correctly. Yay, they all said except Near. He was nearly tied up. Actually, he was totally tied up, but his name's Near, not Total. Or is it? No, I'm pretty sure it's not Near or Total. His name is Nate River. They sat in a circle and Mello spun the bottle first. He spinned it too hard and it flew in the air and peached, slapped Near on the chops like a pro, even though it was an accident. Hey Near, truth or dare? Mello roared, lolling, as blood explosomed out like a rainbow if all the colors except red were stolen by an evil leprechaun. That's not how you spell leprechaun. And instead of a pot of gold, he had a pot of dead sparrows. But they weren't dead, they were zombies. Well then, they're definitely dead. And they terrorized Ireland, where people get really mad and upset, I guess. Not like Ireland, which, I probably have ancestors from, being a southern lady. Said Near, which was Dare, 'cause it had 4 letters. If he's gagged, you don't really know. Okay then, Mello gasped. I dare you to stand on your head for 10 hours. That's impossible, because he would eventually pass out. Maybe die. Near did that, but after like 10 seconds he fell over 'cause his hands were still tied. You mean you didn't untie him so he could properly stand on his head? Whatever. And he had to do 4 fits forfeits by taking off a pies of his cloths. Uh-huh. I understood that sentence perfectly. I don't know what you're talking about. Now Matt got the bottle and spinned it, and it pointed to Matt. So it pointed to himself? If that's the case, isn't it kind of like, well, spin it again, because obviously you can't truth or dare yourself, so... Matt, I dare you to be awesome. Okay, I win, said Matt. So we're gonna treat them that like Matt is two separate people? Okay. Then Dark pointed to him that he wasn't awesome at all, 'cause he played Barbie's horsey, Barbie pony horsing or something lame on his 3DS, so Matt stripped off his goggles. Big whoop-de-doo! Somebody played Barbie's Horse Adventure! Whatever. I don't know why you'd have to strip your goggles off. Also, I don't think Barbie's Horse Adventure was for the 3DS. I want to say it was for, the computer and PlayStation 2 or something like that. Look this up. It's a real thing. You probably want to watch Lucagen's video on it if you want to know the origin of my balls. I can't believe I just... Oh. He spun the bottle again and hit Dark. Why does he get two times with the bottle? It's supposed to go to whatever. The bottle again and hit Dark. Truth or dare, Dark? Truth, Dark said knobbly, 'cause he's a knob. He believed in truth 'cause he was American. Actually, no, he's not. And now it was time to put it to the test, because this is spin the bottle is serious business. Seriously. I'm watching you. Are you Ancient Kira? How would you know that? How would anybody know this? There's no such thing as that. Matt asked suddenly. He didn't know why he had done it. It felt like a ghost from a dark past has possessed him, or a dark future. You're not clever, sir. Nopers, Dark said, and got the bottle and turned it. It pointed at Beyond Birthday. Dare, said BB. Because I'm not going to explain that, we call him BB as a nickname or anything. You're just going to have to guess that maybe that's who I'm referring to. I dare you to become an evil dude one day. Okay, said BB. See, it's all explained now. No, that's not the reason for another note. Good day, sir. Good day to you. Birthday got the bottle and pointed it at Samantha. He didn't spin it, he just pointed it at her. Dare! I dare you to kiss me. Birthday was gross 'cause he was L but grosser. He's not L. He looks like L. That's part of his character. But he's not L. And neither one are gross at all, really, to my knowledge. His face was smeared with British candies like licorice, all sorts. Well, I don't know what all sorts is supposed to be, but I have to agree with the author. I don't care much for licorice. Gross and crunchy, not gross. So now you've changed your mind about whatever licorice all sorts are. You no longer think they're gross. I see. Samantha did her face all scrunchy style, but didn't want to forfeit 'cause like the number 4 and getting healthy. Forfeit 'cause she had forgot to put on her undies today. You don't forget to put on underwear. Unless you regularly don't wear it and you were supposed to for some reason. Forgot to put on her undies today, and if she taked off her clothes, people would see her chesty bits or lady bits. Taking off your clothes implies taking off your underwear as well, and that's kind of the point of taking off your clothes. Also, they don't have the right to make you do anything you don't actually want to do. This is just a dumb kids game. Also, if you're kids, which you clearly are by this point, depending on your age, and I'm assuming you're very young at this point, you don't have breasts, so you're not wearing a bra. She kissed Birthday, and he stuck his tongue in her mouth, and it was nasty, and he started holding her chesty bits, which she wouldn't have. Also, this kind of makes Beyond a pedo, depending on how old he is at this point. How old is anybody in this story? We don't fucking know. Dark jumped in and punched Birthday. The lady said no! Actually, she didn't. She kissed him and then he started molesting her. And then he started filling her up. Thank you, Dark, she said, swooning. No man who's totally not a man, he's a boy, had ever saved her so strongly before, I'm sure. She could feel a buzzing sensation in her heart. Was this love? And they both had their first kiss together, and it was so romantic that Birthday had to go to the bathroom and get happy. Because that's what I do after I get punched, unless I'm a mashtist. Meanwhile in Japan, the fat dude had searched everywhere in his apartment for ancient Kira. I don't know why he would be in your apartment, but okay. And he wasn't under the couch or anything. There was only one place left to look, outside. He got dressed for the first time in 20 years, because I would have never put on clothes at all in 20 years, and went outside. He was so fat that he had to run, and the exercise got rid of the fat, which would be impossible to do in a day, but he was still all wrinkly, and that's why he became ill. No. And no. Also no. I think no. The trees were happy and the birds were too. And the Japanish people walking around saying things. They're just walking around and saying things just because. He ate a Pocky. It's a long, pokey thing made of crackers and chocolate. Not exactly. And looked under all the trees. Also, he only ate one out of a whole box. And looked under all the trees. There was a wood behind him. He looked down and saw a book. The cover said, Ancient Death Note, because it would totally say that. And in fact, it was singing it over and over to the song of Jingle Bells, like, Ancient Death Note, Ancient Death Note, Ancient Note of Death. Oh, what fun it is to kill and make peeps really ill. That hardly fit the theme of Jingle Bells. He picked it up and a Shinigami appeared. He was really short and squeaky and had a mohawk made of blood and skulls, but only really small bloods and skulls like mice or something. Yo, I am Youngblood, Prince of the Shinigami, which is fucking bullshit, he said, doing up his pilot jacket, because he had one. Hello, Youngblood, said El, shaking his head. What? Hello, San? Youngblood? Why is San there? I don't get it. Are you trying, because El's supposed to be Japanese, he's supposed to be calling him Youngblood San? Because you'd put San after the name, you wouldn't put it before. It's not like Mr. or Mrs., said El, shaking his head. I am looking for ancient Kira. Do you want to help? I do, but I know right now that you have already found him, said Youngblood, polishing his lever pants. Made of levers, I guess. Spoilers, lolled El, and they started looking around. Because I wouldn't ask him what he meant by that. And of course, suddenly yelling spoilers makes perfect sense, right? Okay, who is Ancient Kira? Said El, cause actually he was bored and wanted to get to the plot instead of have hilarious antics where he'd looked in laddie's skirts for Kira or something. I don't know why laddies would have skirts, but apparently he would look in laddie's skirts. Maybe he went to Scotland, but they wear kilts, not skirts. It's you! Youngblood boomed and everyone in Tokyo heard him, which would be impossible since he's a Shinigami. They were furious that he had been killing dudes for centuries, which would be impossible if he didn't even know who in the fuck Ancient Kira was, nor that what a death note was until now, and all formed a big mob to tear him up and eat him. How did this happen, old L? Because I'd just be laughing about this. As he sent his killer bees and killed them all. When did he get killer bees? How it happened? In the past. The past of England, that is. Watari writ the last name in his death note. Every evil dude in the world was dead. Now no one could have evil kids and as in addressing somebody, and the day would be saved. But one day a new evil would appear from a meteor or something. Oh, Sephiroth. He knew this day would come, but how could he save it? He had a plan. He used his magic note to summon a new note in the future for some reason. This was the ancient death note, and you know how that went down. Not really, unless you're talking about the whole thing with L right now. Then he went to the Shinigami world, because he can do that, where he found an angry baby abandoned by its dad, the king of the Shinigami. Ahoy there, my buggering duck, Watari said, slapping the baby on the nose bump to make it wake up, because you would just hit a baby, even if it's a Shinigami baby. Also, I don't think the Shinigami have babies, since they don't have the vital parts necessary to give birth and have sex. What, said the baby. I will raise you, carry on my duties, not two, just I will raise you, and then somebody will carry on my duties when I die, which will be never, because I have the sorcerer's, I'm not sure if that's how you spell sorcerers, but okay. Sorcerer's Stone, which you ripped off from Harry Potter, I take it, and will use it to be immortal, so the only way to kill me will be one-on-one combat with a worthy opponent, and so he will have a mustache, for some reason, being oddly specific about this. Watari roared, and he took it home and started a magic school like Hogwarts, which I thought he didn't have a school called Hogwarts. So wait, what you're telling me is that Watari is Dumbledore and that he's actually evil. Like Hogwarts, to raise the baby himself. And so then Harry is actually a Shinigami? What? I will name you after your favorite food. Watari screeched, punching walls out of the ground with his bare hands. Blood! Except it needs to be badasser, so it will be spelled blood. So Harry Potter is actually Blood. Okay. Blood Fort. This was really awesome, but cause he was a baby, all he could do was farted. Because as a baby he would understand this. Well, granted he's a Shinigami, so maybe. Back in America, Light was a teenager now, and he went to school. He had a sister now called Sayu, and she was so hot that Light had to beat up all the dudes who wanted to be her boyfriend, because she wasn't allowed to, pick out her own boyfriends. But then again, we don't know exactly, is Light in high school yet? Is he still in middle school? Because if guys are hitting on an elementary school student, that's a little different. And then depending on how old the guys are who wanted to be her boy. Anyway, when in fact she was a lesbian, but he didn't know, but luckily he was a jerk, so he beat up her boyfriends anyway. So they're already her boyfriend, but you're beating them up. It really doesn't matter at this point if your sister's a lesbian or not, because assuming you're doing that, you would also beat up her girlfriends. He found a death note and Ryuk was in it. He's not in it, he's just attached to it. And blah blah, you saw this already. Or assuming you watched the show and would know more about it than this person does. But then things changed. I will write more tomorrow. It is tomorrow and I am writing more, so here goes nothing because I totally needed to know that you took a break while writing this chapter. One day Light woke up and hid stretches and had a shower and wiped butter on his abs for some reason to make them shiny and make it look like he had abs. Okay, first of all, it wouldn't be butter, it would be some kind of oil for that you could put safely on your skin. And why would he put it on his abs if he doesn't have abs? Then he's just putting oil on his... Oh, and this makes it better. To make it look like he had abs, and got dressed and went to cure some evil guys. Why put oil on your body if you're going to put clothes over top of it? That's just going to suck up the oil that you put on you. There is no reason for that. And then probably put pimples in all kinds of places you wouldn't want them. But it was gone. Where the frigging dig is my death note? He swore, and Light's mom came in and told him off for swearing and gave him a slapped ass on the ass. So she went and slapped a donkey and brought it in and then used the donkey on his ass. Also, he didn't swear. He said frigging. A mysterious laughter riffled through the window like lemonade fizzling into the iceberg hole of the Titanic. That's not funny, dude. You're not clever. Have you taken your death note? The voice said. Oh, I have taken your death note, the voice said. I will return it when my evil deeds are done, or not. We're not sure if we'll return. We're not sure if we're going to finish my evil deeds or not, but I'll return it to you once I get them done. Okay, Light said, and he got his GameCube out and played Sonic 'cause it was the past. But that evil voice sounded Japanish. He fort as he made Sonic do a loop. Okay. Back at the slumber party in the 90s, because everybody from the 90s remembers that massive slumber party we had worldwide, right? Everyone was asleep now. Nier was naked 'cause he lost all his forfeits and everyone had lolled at his ugly bod. Which would be impossible considering y'all are kids, so you actually wouldn't have hot bodies. Like supermodels, that would be impossible. Mello had been there to glue himself to the ceiling, so he was stuck there for now. Okay. Cool Dude had got drunk on Roger's beer, because he went and pilfered the liquor cabinet for some reason. And, got drunk. We still don't know how old anybody is, and I'm pretty sure nobody here is legal drinking age. On Roger's beer, and started kissing Matt, who was also drunk, and everyone had lolled even more. But now they were asleep. There was a rap at the window. So Eminem showed up. Not like Kanye, though I mean a noise. Who's that rapping at my chamber door? Mr. Raven, all up in my grill like nevermore. Dart got up and went to the window. He opened it. Outside he saw a shadowy shadow shadowing away in the shadows. Then why would it knock on the window? Dart got his underpants on, because he was naked, and went outside to investigate, because it sounded like he'd tell an adult or something, or call the police. There was a pile of candies on the floor, and they made a long line stretching into the forest around Watari House. That's not suspicious at all. This was Sherlock Forest. That is so stupid. And in ancient times, Robin Hood and his merry man, not his merry men, his merry man, 'cause he only had one guy to help him, had walked around murdering dudes. No, they didn't. For their, as in over their, money, and burying it in the treasure cave. That's not the story of Robin Hood at all. That's not how Robin Hood worked. He stole from the rich to give to the poor. He wasn't a fucking pirate. He didn't have pirate booty. He didn't put it in a chest and bury the damn thing. What in the crap? No one knew, as in a new shiny car, where this treasure cave was, and whenever the kids weren't learning algebra or being super awesome super agents, from L, not for L, but from L, because they were, L sent them out to do his dirty work. They went here to look for treasure. Well, that actually makes some sense because the kids would probably play games and stuff like that if there was a local legend about somebody hiding treasure somewhere. That's kind of the thing a kid does. Dark followed the candies, but he was hungry, so he started eating them. Okay. Little did he know, as in the negative, they were drugged. He kept munching and walking and wondering why he was having all these crazy hallucinations. Hallucinations of dark shadow dudes with eyes made of blood and fingers made of the skulls of dead presidents. How would you know they were presidents? And a mouth lined with billions of sharks. Okay. All stepping away. So instead of teeth, individual teeth, it's individual sharks, and that they're just, they're wiggling and moving, and they, and the sharks are still alive, even though they're replacements for teeth. Okay. He thought they were hallucinations, but they weren't. So wait, he started hallucinating because the candy was drugged. And then he still had the presence of mind to think that they were hallucinations, even though he's tripping on drugged candy. But it turns out they're not actually hallucinations, so he's not actually eating drugged candy. Tripping balls. Eventually he got Robin Hood's house. Did he win it in a laundry? Did he win it in a lottery? What in the crap? Also, I don't think Robin Hood was real. I'm pretty sure he was just a folk legend. Eventually, he got to Robin Hood's house. He had never been here before because Robin had made a spell. That meant that only peeps who were all drugged up could see it. Even though he apparently isn't drugged. He's perfectly fine because you just said they weren't hallucinations. Also, since when did Robin Hood know magic? Behind it, he could see a strange light coming from a cave. He went into the cave, and there was more gold than he had ever seen in his whole. Apparently, his life is in a tunnel, in a hole in the wall or something. Life piled around him like so much gold. Well, yeah, if there was a lot of gold, then there would be a lot of gold. There were coins and cups and swords and helmets and necklaces and motorboats because they had motorboats in the time of Robin Hood. And tanks and pipes and pyramids. How did you fit a pyramid in there? And a tank. Several of them, in fact. And tables and chairs and knives and forks and spoons and statues of naked ladies. And horses, and a train. How? And 4 arrows. We have all of this, but we only have 4 arrows. These were the ancient treasures of Sir Robin Hood. Was Robin Hood ever knighted in the stories? I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've really looked into anything with Robin Hood. In the middle of the room, dark fort, he saw a big dude the size of a really big boulder with a mohawk made of blood and skulls and fangs and samurai swords and a leather jacket that was made from human leather, and he was holding a smaller evil clown dude by the neck. The evil clown dude was crying, but his cries, without, putting an IE there and just a Y, didn't stop the strangling. Okay? Put me down, he sputtered, as his eye and nose, because he only has one eye, water went everywhere. Ew. No, because I need your death note for an evil plan, the big dude said. How can Dark see all this? He hasn't touched the death note. Dark ignored all this cause he thought he was hallucinating. But he wasn't. In fact, there had been no drugs in the candy at all, which we already figured out. And Dark just thought there was 'cause he thought the Shinigami were hallucinations. Tricked you! Not really. The big dude started rooting in the little dude's cloths, and pulled out a black book. It said Death Note on the front because it was a death note. Duh. The evil dude threw the little dude away, and he went splat on a big pile of swords, but not swords like you would fight with, but just swords, and started crying more. Shut up, Ryuk! Wait, since when was Ryuk little? Shut up, Ryuk, or I will put a maypole into your skull and make the kitties dance over your face, the big dude said, and then he got his own death note out, but this one said Ancient Death Note, because there's a distinction between each death note. And it was still singing Christmas carols, and this time it was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Oh, this is going to be interesting, as Caleb fails to sing in tune to the actual song we're referencing. Ancient Death Note had a very evil power. If you ever written it, an evil dude would surely die. All of the other Shinigami used to laugh and call it names. They never let poor young blood join in any Shinigami games. Then one foggy day in the land of the Shinigami, the king of Shinigami came to say, Blood, with your note so powerful, please don't murder us tonight. Then all the Shinigami died. They all shouted out, then died. Ancient Death Note, you made us all go dead. And that is how I became king of the Shinigami, Blood roared, because he actually was never king of the Shinigami. And if you killed all of the Shinigami, then there wouldn't be any Shinigami left alive for any of this crap that happened throughout the entire story. Blood roared, and now make the Death Note that will be the sauce of my evil power. I didn't know you needed to make a sauce to be evil and have power. He said, smooshing the ancient and regular Death Note together to make a royal Death Note. Because somehow that would be different, even though they're both normal Death Notes. We'll find out what happened next in the next chapter, but here is a preview. I did what you said, my blacky-haired buddy, Blood said, doing a Japanish bow for some reason. Good. Elle said eagerly. Everything went just as planned. Gasp! Tune in next, as in your neck. Time for the last ever part for real this time. Which is bullshit because the story is over. Thank you. Caleb did a 102-page story by herself, going from being sick and just wanting something to do because she's bored out of her fucking mind to, well, this'll be out around Christmas, so, like what? Took me 2 months to read this crap, on and off, eventually. So what do I think about this story? Thank God it's not my inner life. I already give this story props for not being my inner life. Yeah, it's long, but it's nowhere near the being so tired and exhausted and just everything that was horrible with my inner life. This story, it's not taking itself seriously, it's just dumb, it's clearly a troll fic, as I've said several times while reading. This was made just to fuck with the Death Note universe. And honestly, while some of this stuff got on my nerves, I would read this again if I had a choice between this and my inner life. I would keep reading this if it was the only thing I was allowed to read for the rest of my life, as long as I didn't have to read MIL. We have this idea that we want to make an epic story about a self-created fan character that's pretty much author insert. And it would be fine, but see, the problem with the story is everybody is a genius. You know, we're Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty, and that's the appeal of Death Note. It's you already know who the villain is. You already know who the hero is. How is the hero going to try and stop the villain? And how is the villain, who's your main character, going to try and keep ahead of the game and eventually maybe kill the hero so that he can get away with it? That is the appeal of Death Note, is the mystery. Well, not even really a mystery, it's the suspense that makes Death Note interesting. And it's the fact that there are supernatural powers at work here, which the heroes don't have the benefit of knowing at the moment, but the villain does. This story does not understand that. We're taking Death Note and turning it into Michael Bay production, is what this story is. It does not care about the original comic or anime. It does not care about whatever the original plot or ideas were. It's just inputting stupid, boobies, some racism, and explosions. It's basically if Michael Bay picked up Death Note and wanted to do an American Death Note movie. That's what this story is. And I so would not support that movie. I'll read it as a fanfic, but I would not support anything like this coming out as a movie, which is why I don't have really anything to do with Michael Bay, but aside from that. But that's really what this is. It's somebody who probably read a synopsis about what Death Note was and its plot, and then just decided to troll people and just write whatever kind of crap came to mind. And that's what they did. They did not give a shit while writing this. I'm going to assume, considering the length, that 2 people probably wrote this, and it's definitely a troll fic. Could I recommend this to anybody? If somebody, I think you could like this story even if you had no idea what in the crap Death Note even was. You could just read this and you would have no idea what the fuck is going on except that crazy shenanigans is happening. And then somebody put it in a blender and blended it up and then fed it to their cat and their cat barfed it up. And then you took that and you printed a story out of that. And that's really just what this is. It's a bunch of crazy crap put out there, and if you just want to read it and laugh, that's really all it's good for. There's no rhyme reason, there's no plot, no significance. I mean, really, I would say the worst thing this story does is not have a lasting impact. So what do I mean by that? Well, for example, Orion High School Host Club is a very popular anime. So I went online when it was being shown on YouTube, I think by Funimation, I don't really remember. I watched it. I didn't finish the series, but I watched it. And then I just kind of never finished it. And then people who hear about it will be like, well, I heard about this show, Orion High School Host Club, and, everybody says it's good, but I don't really know if that's something for me. And then, of course, my response is, well, I've seen it. And then, of course, they naturally are going to ask, well, what's your opinion on it? And my honest reply is, I remember liking it. I don't remember anything that happened in it, but I remember liking it. And that's what this fic is. I kept forgetting anything that happened in it. Some of it might have been important, maybe, to kind of remember. I still didn't remember it. And honestly, it didn't really matter if I remembered it or not, because the fic kept changing things to so much so that there's no point in remembering anything. In the end, when I think about this story a week from now, I'm going to feel the same thing I did about Orion High School Host Club. I read it. It was okay. Probably not something for everybody because it's kind of long and doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And that's all I'm really going to be able to tell you, because I won't remember the majority of things I read in this story. It has no lasting impression, which is sadly something I have to give MIL credit for. Something like Star Turds, credit for. Something like Cupcakes, credit for. Because I remember, with the exception of Cupcakes, I hated those stories. But they were something that had lasting impact. And I remember them. I could tell you plot point by plot point what happened from the start to the end in almost 100% accuracy, because it made sense, it was coherent, and I was invested. I can't do that with this story. The story, again, doesn't take itself seriously. It could care less about plot. In fact, there is no plot except for whatever the whim of the writer feels like that day. There's no trying to write a good story. There's just, hey, I'm throwing some things out there, and if I change my mind, well, I'm not going to erase it and try again. I'm just going to keep going. And this is more like, maybe not as crazy, but if I mentioned eventually that I was working on a Top the Fourth Wall fanfic, and if I pulled out and showed you what my workspace for writing the story, you'll see that I jump from one idea to the next as it comes to me. That's because while I might be going through multiple ideas and writing, I'm also basically brainstorming is what that is. And then when I'm ready to post it online, I take what I have organized, because some of it is organized, some of it's just my brain vomit, and whatever it is I'm actually going to post as a chapter for the story, I copy paste and move it over to another document, and I read through it, I clean it up, I write more, I maybe take some things out, maybe do some more shuffling, but in the end, it's going to make sense, and it's going to be coherent, as opposed to my huge-ass document that I have, where I just put everything and anything that I've written into it. You know, you have, for the first 30%, everything's going in order of storyline, and it's coherent, and then there's a line break, and to illustrate that we're changing scene, and then suddenly we're back on the ship again, when we've been off the ship for 30 chapters by this point. That's something I should have just as my brainstorming, as my prototype. What I put actually online is something that I've worked very hard on and refined and did my best to create a good story with good spelling and sentence structure. But this is just somebody took everything they could think of at that moment, typed it out, and then posted it online. Whereas that's really something you should just keep to yourself and be like, okay, well, this was good, this isn't, so let's get rid of that. I mean, that's why you have basically what you could literally call a master post, and you work on that from that. I'm not really sure how to explain it without showing you what I'm talking about, but I don't think I'm really going to be able to. Mostly because of story spoilers. But I have like the main document I'm working on where I store everything, every idea, every concept, every thought, every urge to write whatever situation's going on. You know, I could be writing, I don't know, say I'm writing Fruits Basket, and I'm writing something about Toru getting it on with Momiji for some reason. And then suddenly I'm not really feeling that, but instead I'm feeling her having a confrontation with Shigure about it. But that's not going to happen until 5 chapters from now. Well, I'm just going to hit enter, I'm going to make a line break, which for me is 2 dashes, and then I'm going to press enter again, and I'm just going to start typing. And yeah, I'm going to come back later and fill more stuff in, but if for some reason I feel I have enough for a chapter, I'm not going to include that part in the chapter. I just have this huge master post of all of my ideas, concepts, and thoughts. And that's really what this story feels like. That we just wrote whatever, and didn't bother to refine it into an actual fic or story. If you've watched Death Note and you like Death Note and you just want to read something that totally disregards anything to actually do with Death Note, this is fine. If you really can't stand something that has no coherent plot or idea where it's going, skip this. You're not going to miss anything if you skip over it. There's nothing of substance here aside from this is not how you write fanfiction. This is just how you brain vomit your master post and then post that online with no revision or editing and just assume it is made of awesome because you wrote it. When the truth is that's hardly the case and is why you read over your stuff and you revise it and you keep writing. So I think that's all I have to say about this story. I'm sorry if I went off into tangents or if I didn't finish any thoughts. I am really tired and I have been talking a lot in order to get this story finished. So hopefully next time I post Bad Fanfiction Theater, I will have the internet back on and we can start recording with Pushcho and Hawk and Lore. And we can get the Christmas crap done and we can get a New Year's story done. Well, maybe not specifically New Year's, but we'll see what I can find. And then I can start making plans for what we'll be reading this year. I want to wish you Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year. Don't get too drunk. Don't drive if you're drinking. Stay warm and stay safe. And have a wonderful, happy, and blessed New Year. Because trust me, 2014 has sucked ass. I'm Caleb. This has been Bad Fanfiction Theater. Thank you for listening. Bye!